I'm Molly Kimball. Welcome to Fueled, a wellness and nutrition podcast. I'm a registered dietitian and nutrition journalist with a passion to help people live their strongest, healthiest life possible. In my weekly TV segments and columns, there's a limited amount of time and space to cover everything, but there's so much more to share. This podcast is my opportunity to dive deeper into the topics you want to know about. Today, we are talking all things kombucha, what it is, what the health benefits are, and in particular, we're talking about a brand based out of New Orleans called Big Easy Bucha. They have recently expanded across the U.S. You can find them in stores from coast to coast, and they're expanding that footprint even more. And we're lucky enough to sit down today with Austin Sherman, co-founder and CEO of Big Easy Bucha. So he and I will be talking about the health benefits of kombucha, what to look for in kombucha. Well, first of all, so what it is. If you're not familiar with it, what is it, why it's good for us, and then what to look for to make sure that the kombucha you're buying is a good quality, authentic, high quality kombucha. And then also what goes behind a brand like this. How do you start from making something in your kitchen and expanding it to a very successful brand, a very well-respected brand, and continues to grow and thrive? And also how he channels that into giving back to the community and still maintains that sense of balance, peace in his life. So I think that you'll enjoy hearing from Austin. I know that I learn a lot every time I talk with him and the Big Easy Bucha team. Welcome, Austin. I'm really excited you're joining us today. So let's start with an introduction.
My name is Austin Sherman, and I'm the co-founder and CEO. That's a forced title for Big Easy Bucha, which is one of the South's fastest growing kombucha brands.
And why do you call it a forced title?
Yeah, so it was funny. A couple of years ago, I really didn't want a title. I'm a team builder. I like to surround myself with really smart people. And one of my employees said, "I'm printing you out business cards and you're going to be the CEO." And so I just naturally sort of came about that title, but I've started to grow into it a little bit.
And so for the purposes of the business card.
CEO.
And co-founder, your co-founder is?
So that's my my wonderful wife, Alexis. Her and I were out drinking in New Orleans like most couples do on the weekend and thought about an idea to launch a kombucha brand. We sketched out a simple logo on a cocktail napkin, and a year later, the brand was built.
And how many years ago was that?
That was 5.
Wow. So 2014 was the night y'all were out drinking.
That's right.
I feel like the brand has been around a lot longer than that. So for someone who's not familiar with kombucha, how do you describe it to them?
Yeah, so kombucha is a sparkling probiotic tea. You essentially ferment a sweet organic tea with active live cultures. And at the end of a week to 2 weeks, you get a nice sparkling, slightly sweet, slightly sour carbonated beverage. It's good for you.
The way that I describe it is it's a little bit ale-y. So if someone is a beer drinker, they may like it. I find that even people who really like champagne, that carbonation, they really like it. And we'll get into the health benefits of kombucha coming up, but tell us about the brand, about Big Easy Bucha. So it's based here in New Orleans, but you guys have a much bigger reach beyond here. So where can people find it? What's your distribution reach?
Yeah, so we started the brand, I say launched, as a sort of funny term. We really just made it as a hobby in our apartment, just a few blocks off Bourbon Street in 2014. We were passing it out to friends and family and just sort of getting feedback and figuring out if this is something that we wanted to do full time. A year later, we got into Rouse's, which is a local chain, about 70 stores and 7 Whole Food stores in Louisiana. And then we turned it into a legit business. Big Easy, we've launching out of New Orleans. We're not known for the healthiest of products, and we're proud of that. And that's great. So we really wanted to make it palate friendly. And so part of the naming definitely ties it to the city and the place of where it's born, where it is. But the easy part is easy drinking. And so we've coined some hashtags like Drink Easy. And we're big on flavor, and easy drinking is also a descriptor of the brand. So we're sort of the gateway kombucha for someone that's not super familiar with the category. And that's been a lot of fun to just bring people into the fold. We get so many customers that are previous Diet Coke and Coke users and use this as a replacement.
And, we have the Alcohol Free for 40 challenge that we do each year, where we make it a challenge that if someone's going to give up something at a time like Lent, for example, and they're going to give up often alcohol anyway, we encourage them to make it their own self experiment, do a full set of labs before and after. So, looking at their liver enzymes, their inflammatory markers, a whole host of things. And we actually provide that test for a lot of people here in New Orleans and then do it again at the end of the challenge. Up close picture of their face, eyes, all this stuff, body composition. So we have a lot of conversations with people who, for some people, it's kind of just a fun challenge. It's not the big deal for them to give it up. For others, it's a really serious thing because they drink a lot and they drink, have been drinking for a long time. And one of the best stories that I think it was an 83, we just call him our 83-year-old Scotch drinker. And he drank so much Scotch. He said, I drink a handle. And when he held up his hand to show what his handle of Scotch was, basically it was a gallon, it looked like, of Scotch
Oh
that he
my.
goes through about every 5 days, every
Wow.
week. And so for him to do the alcohol free for 40 challenge was giant. And you guys, the Big Easy Bucha team, come to our kickoff party every year for the alcohol free for 40 challenge. And we sample out the kombucha, Big Easy Bucha, let people taste it because it's a great replacer for
Mhm.
alcohol. And some people just use it in place of their wine, beer, whatever. Well, he used it in place of a scotch. And he got himself to Whole Foods and he every day would try a different flavor of Big Easy Bucha.
Awesome.
And he would email me with his report and his feedback on all the flavors. So I think it's one of those where it was the coolest thing because you're never too old to change these habits. His wife was so proud of him. And side note on that, they thought their ice maker was broken because he was no longer using all the ice for his scotches. And so, but they had to adjust the settings of that. But I think it's a great, there's so many ways that it can kind of fill a gap for people, whether they're sugar soft drink drinkers or alcohol drinkers. It can be a real great alternative for that. So what's the reach now? So it started kind of as the seedling of an idea just a handful of years ago. What's the region and kind of the states that Big Easy is available now?
Yeah, and so in 2017, we were awarded full distribution in all 1,200 public supermarkets, and that was sort of our validating year.
That's huge.
It's a big chain. We didn't know how big it was until the first few orders came in. But we started to do really well in Publix at that point. It was still really early in the category. There was a lot of education that took place on our part just to bring people into the category. And then we kind of took a break from selling because we were just figuring out some capacity. We self-manufacture here in New Orleans. And then in 2018, we began pitching other retailers. And so just a few months ago, we launched in the Fresh Market nationwide, Walmart, Amazon, Costco, and a handful of others. So we're really growing. We have our eyes set on national distribution by probably the end of 2020, 2021.
That's incredible.
And so the goal is to put New Orleans on the map for innovation.
And with the stores that you mentioned, so Costco, Walmart, you said Fresh Market is all locations nationally. With these others, is it certain regions? If someone's hearing this and they think, where can I find it?
So with Walmart, we're in all the public stores, and that's primarily in the Southeast. With Fresh Market, there's a handful of other states that we're in. I don't have them right offhand, but there's quite a few. And with Walmart, we're in the Southeast, and Costco, we're in the Southeast. But if anyone really wants to try the brand, we're on Amazon as well.
Right. That's fantastic. All right. And so when y'all were, having your drinks down in the French Quarter, coming up with this big idea, were you already making kombucha on your own?
I was, yeah.
How did that even start?
Yeah, so my sister taught me how to make it. I had been a consumer of who's now my competitor for a long time. I was an early adopter, I believe in like 2008 is when I tried kombucha for the first time, 2007. And Alexis too. We did not know each other at the time, but she was drinking it when she was in New York City. So sort of, I think about our 3,000 miles of separation. We were sitting there drinking a beverage that we would ultimately partner with someday. It's really fun to think about. So we started the brand and I forgot your question.
So when did you start making it, like in your kitchen?
Yeah, so I started making it in 2012 in my kitchen. My sister taught me how to make it. At the time, I was just trying to figure out when Alexis and I were dating, what was my next career path.
What did you do before this? What was it?
Out of college, I was in real estate development. I coincidentally enough, helped build the Whole Foods out of college. I was in charge of permits and entitlements for a real estate company in Seattle. And when sort of disaster struck in 2000, in 2008, 2009, and the company that I was with had a lot of projects, and I sort of saw what was happening with the real estate market and got into bartending. Um, I knew people would drink during a recession.
Right.
So I may have helped serve your 83-year-old prototype, but so I kind of had a hard stop at 30 that I decided that was going to be the end of bartending, and knew that I wanted to do something. Had always been kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit in mind since I was very little. Lots of really small, mostly failed projects. And that's when Alexis and I got together, and we just complemented each other so well, as good partners should and do, as success stories come about. So I was making it, and she's like, "Look, she's so ahead of the trends. I'm not cool at all. She's she's the innovator." And of course, as a journalist, she wrote for Wine Enthusiast and USA Today. She was very hip on the trends, and she thought, there's this movement towards health and wellness, and it's encapsulating a wide demographic. You make really good stuff. Let's see if we can make it and sell it.
So tell our listeners, how do you make kombucha? What is it like when you're doing it in the kitchen? Because it's not pretty.
It's not pretty. No, it's not. Fermentation in general is not pretty. It's, you don't really want to see how the sausage is made.
Right.
But the same can be said for wine. If anyone's seen lees, which is a byproduct for fermentation in wine, it's kind of gross, but the wine's great. And same with beer. When yeast are done digesting all the sugar and whatnot in a malt and in a beer, it drops out the bottom and it kind of looks like mud, like clay mud. And you're like, that's where this comes from. So fermentation in general it can be kind of unsightly, but I think we're starting to adopt that it's a
good
good thing
for us.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a good thing.
So you start with a culture.
So back to your question. Sorry, you start.
It's great. I love it. I love the visuals.
So actually, kombucha on a small scale is very simple to make. Lots of people overcomplicate it. Sometimes for comedic relief, we'll peruse Facebook groups where people are giving their wise advice on how to make kombucha. We're kind of chuckling on the sidelines because we've made an exponentially, more than most of these quote unquote gurus. But to make kombucha at home is really simple. Make a sweet tea. Most people know how to do that. A cup of sugar for a gallon of finished product. So boil a black or a green or any kind of tea that suits your fancy. You don't have to really get specific. It's all about taste and what you prefer. Brew a tea for 5 to 10 minutes. Mix in some distilled or really clean purified water with a decent mineral content. You don't really want to use tap water. It tends to have chlorine or chloramine. Add in a cup of sugar, stir that in, and then use a starter culture. And really, you can use our product to jumpstart fermentation. That brings the pH down. And then just check it. I typically tell people leave it on your countertop in a glass jar it could be in a t-shirt, could be a cheesecloth with a rubber band fastened to the top, so it allows it to breathe. And taste it after 7 days. Should be kind of sweet, kind of sour. I do recommend, if you're going to make kombucha at home, that you invest in a $5 or $10 pH meter, because there are cases where people have harmed themselves by letting it age too long, and it gets really sour, and they kind of flavor it, but their body's like, oh my gosh, this is like straight vinegar, but it tastes good because they've dumped in a bunch of juice, and then they end up with a stomach ache or whatever. So I really recommend that you don't really want to go below 3 pH when you're fermenting kombucha and making it at home. And you can really get creative. People get so hung up on what kind of flavor should I do? Just make one, just like you bake a cake. Just
and when you're making this batch, there's kind of a slimy film on top, right?
Yeah. So, the revered mother
right.
and our kombucha making listeners will know what I'm talking about when I'm saying it's like the end all. I mean, some people pray to it. It's like, it's just cellulose.
and it's really called the mother.
It's called a mother. Yeah. People have called it the mushroom, the SCOBY. And SCOBY is kind of a misnomer. The culture is in the liquid. The SCOBY, or the mother, is just a byproduct of fermentation. It's just cellulose, and organisms live on and around it. It's almost like a piece of wood in the jungle. Like, organisms live on it and around it. It's just a vehicle. And so I wouldn't pay too much attention, as long as you don't see mold on the top, which it's fairly hard to make mold, if you're following the recipe. And there's so many great recipes out there on the interwebs. Um, and from there, it's really just a matter of adding carbonation, whether that's putting it in your soda stream and adding in some bubbles that way, or putting it into an airtight jar, or Grolsch style bottle with a flip top, or just any kind of glass bottle that can hold carbonation, even plastic if you really want to. And after a day or two, it'll get some natural carbonation. You throw it in the fridge, chill it down, and it's really tasty.
And so explain to us too, it starts with all the sugar, but the bacteria are really digesting these sugars, and that's what's leading to the health benefit. So explain that, because I think when people read the label and see sugar on a label for kombucha, they think, well, this must not be a good product. Also, when they hear a cup of sugar added to anything, people's ears go up and they're like, why is Molly talking about this? A cup of sugar. But explain what happens to the sugar.
Yeah. So sugar is just energy for the culture. Most people that, so I'm going to talk to two different types of people that are listening. One is the folks that are making kombucha at home. And most of the ones that have made successful batches will say, mine tastes the absolute best. And that's true, probably because it's got a ton of sugar left. And there aren't really a whole lot of great ways to monitor sugar on a really accurate basis. So I'd experiment using the least amount of sugar in your recipe that yields you the decent results. But really what you start off with, and sugar should be converted to enzymes and vitamins and things through the culture, kind of digesting it and assimilating it.
And by the end result, so a serving of Big Easy, for example, a bottle of it, about a 16-ounce bottle, has about 7 grams of sugar, give or take. So less than the equivalent of 2 teaspoons of sugar in the 16-ounce bottle. So while it starts with that, the end product, most of that sugar has been digested by the bacteria.
It really depends on kind of the flavor. We add typically farm fresh produce on the back end to give it a little flavor. And so a lot of the sugar that's left in our product is from natural fruit sugar.
So I think that brings us to when we're talking about, well, actually, let me ask this while we're still kind of talking about the development stages of Big Easy Bucha. So your sister probably takes full responsibility for this brand.
Totally. She works for us now.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's cool. What's her role?
So she runs marketing, helps in marketing. She runs our whole demo team in Florida. So in Publix, she's kind of monitoring their schedules and making sure that that product's on the shelf right, in the right position at the right price. So she does a lot in the marketing support and sales support.
Does she guide you in product development?
Yeah, she does. She's, again, between her and my wife, they're not only the idea people, but they're our prototypical demographic. And so they're always hip on the trends. Every time I go into my sister's fridge, there's some new brand of some vegan product that's absolutely delicious and, taking it over the world. So we really listen to those two when it comes to flavor development.
That's fantastic. And then the, bottling it, getting it into some of the local groceries, I think that's the nice thing about a product like kombucha is you're already bottling it to some degree for even just home consumption. Because I think a lot of times if there's a product someone's making, they're making whatever it is, whether it's little baked items or, but then to think about how do I get it to the retail market, they're having to come up with a package that's very different than what they've been doing inside of their house. Whereas with kombucha, you're probably bottling it in some way anyway. Names. Was it always called Big Easy Bucha? Did y'all have another name of it when you first launched it?
That was the first one.
That's cool. I think it's quite perfect.
It's worked so far.
Yeah.
So keep it going.
I think it's great. So you were talking about the flavors. How do you incorporate the flavors? So like my favorite one is the Cajun Kick. Mm-hmm. And I love anything that's just spiced and has a little bit of that like cayenne and the kick, as it says. So this one has ginger. How do you do that? How do you get it in there to where it's also it's infusing, and I think that's kind of one of these miracles that happens with our sparkling waters that are flavored, the kombuchas that are flavored. Sure. Yeah. So tell us.
Yeah. So neither of us had large scale commercial manufacturing experience. So we kind of just did what we did in our kitchen, which turns out tastes really good. But I would say most manufacturers, sort of in our travels and visiting other plants and other product types, they'll use like a flavor house. And a flavor house, what would cost us, uh, $500 in real strawberries and come in a couple flats because it's real stuff, and we have to process it in house. We juice it, and so forth, like our strawberries. Compared to like a sparkling water, it comes in a vial, and it's an extract. And so we didn't really want to go down that route because it is an artisan natural product. But most companies sort of go that sort of like,
So it's flavor extracts added.
yeah. So it's basically distilled in a lab, and that's okay too. But for us,
You're like, that's okay too. Not for us.
it's
for
not
them.
for me. Yeah, you go ahead, go with your bad self. We're gonna stick with what we're doing.
So you'll use the real produce.
Mhm.
So if you've got cucumber in it, are you pureeing the cucumber first? How do you get that?
That's a great question. We have this like
Or any of just
yeah.
cucumber as an example, but
Yeah, so we have this like massive juicer. I mean, you look at it's like 10,000 Jack LaLanne juicers. If you remember those.
yes, the guy with the eyebrows.
Yeah, I was an early adopter with Jack LaLanne. I was like, this guy's got it going on. He lived till he was like 200 years old.
Right.
I mean, God bless him. But we have this big industrial juicer, and we can produce a couple 100 gallons of just juice in an hour. For example, our ginger flavor, we're pressing ginger right before it goes into a bottle. It's real ginger. We get it from, and ginger is a little tougher to nail down locally because it's a very seasonal item to grow. So we have a couple different sources, but we'll juice it and put it right in our bottle.
And then what you can get locally, you do. That's really cool.
Yep. So.
And then the flavor combinations, it sounds like it's the three of y'all who come up with these.
It's sort of a team effort. Everyone has ideas, and it's really fun. And we're fairly open. We don't. We're sort of open operators when it comes to our business. Some of our employees come up with great ideas. Some of them come up with really, really terrible ideas. And we listen to it. We might even experiment with it just for kicks. But recently, we have our head brewer, so he's in charge of essentially all of the tea production on the beginning of the process side. He lost his hearing when he was 11 months old. A really fascinating story. But he really likes to tinker with flavors, and came up with an apple pie flavor, and which is it's apple and cinnamon, real cinnamon. And Whole Foods is going to pick that up. Yeah, we just got word.
That's really cool.
So pretty cool. It tastes really good. So it really depends on where it comes from. We're experimenting with a dragon fruit and guava flavor because dragon fruit, it's pitaya. It's like the dried kind of skin of the dragon fruit is like bright neon pink. And so we experimented with that and a little guava, and it tasted really good. So we pitched that to Whole Foods too, and it's looking pretty decent as well.
So you're like, okay, we love the color. Now, how can we integrate that and get a little flavor from it?
Yeah.
So if someone is perusing their shelves and they're looking for kombucha, obviously, if they see Big Easy Bucha, we want them to grab that and try them all, like our Scotch drinker. But if they don't, and they're looking at all the different brands available, what are some things to look for? To know that they have a product that would be like what a purist would call authentic kombucha?
Oh, that's a great question. As the category matures, a lot of the big soda companies are getting into it. You see Pepsi. Pepsi owns a kombucha brand now. It's pasteurized, and they talk about a pasteurized product. It's merchandised in the produce cooler, but it is a pasteurized product, which means that they'll take a raw product and essentially cook it, whether that's in the bottle and pass it through sort of this tunnel that's heated up and nukes it and kills everything.
And you're not saying it, but I'll say it. It's Kavita, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that how you say that name? Kavita.
Yeah.
Is owned by Pepsi now. Yeah.
That's right. And look, that's for certain people too, what they've done. They've done an amazing job gaining mass distribution. It's just, I don't think that's real kombucha. If it's heated up, it should be raw, should be living. The test that I tell everybody, if you're thinking about If you bought a brand and if you want to know it's real, just pour like 2, 3 ounces in a cup, let it sit out overnight, 2 nights, and see if you get a little bit of that kind of film cellulose that grows up top. If it doesn't, you know that it's been pasteurized. If it does, then you know it's really raw stuff.
So if you've got the sliminess that's happening on the top of it after a few days sitting out at room temp.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So just putting it almost like in a little shot glass and
That's
see.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a couple ounces. Yeah, you could even just leave a couple ounces left in the bottle and let that sit out, you know, with the cap off. Um, what's not so obvious but should be obvious, anything that's merchandised outside of the produce cooler or in a cooler is an absolute no-no. So if you see something in the center aisle next to the waters, that is 100% should not be labeled as kombucha. We're sort of in a gray area as the category is growing so fast and there really are no regulations on the category.
We were at a store that has, like a warehouse type store, like a Costco or a Sam's. And they had a giant display of those, and it was shelf stable, not refrigerated, in the cans. And not only was that the red flag number one, that it wasn't refrigerated, the sugar in it was double. Now the price point was a lot lower, which is, because it's a higher sugar product. It doesn't have the quality. There's a whole other host of things, but for me, that's not good, because someone who doesn't know thinks, oh, well, this is a really good deal. Let me get this brand instead. So being aware that they're not all equal.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's capitalism at its best. As a category becomes attractive for the big guys that get in and kind of dumb down the products and, plummet the price point, cheapen it down, use crappy ingredients, and then pasteurize it so they can ship it on warm trucks, which is a lot less than shipping on refrigerated trucks across the country to different outlets.
So then for you guys, a lot of it is education too of what's that pure product. So does your kombucha grow the slime?
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got it. Making sure that it's not sold in the center of the store at room temp, that it is refrigerated, and then looking for it to be a little bit murky or kind of cloudy, right?
Yeah, so you'll see a little sediment on the bottom, and that's a really good sign. If it tastes sweet, it probably has got a lot more sugar than what's declared, is what I typically, and that goes for any brand. There are some brands that we routinely test that are double even what's stated on the ingredient panel. So if it tastes really sweet, if it tastes like sweet tea, it's probably got at least 30 grams of sugar in the bottle. So might as well just drink a sweet tea.
Right, exactly. And then looking at the ingredient list, are there any things on the ingredient list that you would say that you specifically want to make sure are in there? And certain things, are there any things that you would want to avoid?
So I would definitely look for some type of verbiage that states that it's a live culture. I would stay away from brands that use any powders or extracts. As far as tea powder, you really want to use real brewed tea. That's how you get the most probiotic benefit. And I would probably stay away from, there are some shelf stable probiotics, but when you think about a live organism, do you want it to be refrigerated or do you want it to sit out in the sun and be okay? It sounds like to me, I'm not a scientist, but I would rather have something that's live and active and, needs to be kind of kept cool in the refrigerated section.
And how long has it been sitting there in this
exactly
non-refrigerated state? And so the core ingredients are going to be water, sugar, tea, culture. And so anything else is just going to be extra for flavorings. Like in your case, it may be ginger or lemon or cayenne or strawberries. But if you're seeing other things beyond that, you may have some additives or some sugars or some things that are making it not quite so natural.
That's right.
And then anything else that would be how can I make sure I'm getting a good product? What about consistency? If someone says, one of the things actually that I believe Alexis has said, your wife, is that it isn't always consistent. It's sort of like pottery or sculpture. They're all going to vary a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, there's a reason why, and I keep coming back to alcohol, and we talked about 40 days without alcohol. But I keep coming back to the wine industry because there's a terroir that comes with certain vintages, certain years that a wine is produced. And there's variances in flavor because it's an artisan product. And the same can be said, it's probably easier, not necessarily to grow grapes for wine, but easier to ferment wine because it's a single organism ferment, whereas kombucha is a multi-organism ferment. and you've got sort of yeast and bacteria sort of piggyback, kind
So
of
many other variables in
yeah,
there.
they're kind of at the party, like wrestling for, the prime spot. Um, so there should be some slight variation.
Do you find that even the color will vary
Mhm.
from batch to batch? I would think with something like as natural as strawberries.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Every year, strawberries change season by season. Uh, and really the culture kind of responds uniquely to like temperature and humidity. Sometimes we'll have a bat that's a little cloudier than the one that's a little clearer, and that's just a testament to sort of a raw artisan product.
So not being alarmed if what you had looks a little bit different than the
Mhm.
last time you got it.
Totally.
And so we kind of dove right into Big Easy Bucha as the brand, kind of the evolution of it. But when we're talking about health benefits of kombucha, how do we, um, I guess I can kind of share how I describe it and you can fill in the gaps, but I look at it as first and foremost probiotic rich. And so we know that getting more probiotics in our diet is a good thing. Most people think yogurt when you think probiotics. And just like we were saying earlier, that, probiotics in a supplement form, especially if it's in a non refrigerated capsule that's sitting next to your B vitamins on a shelf, for example, not the greatest because how long have they been sitting there? How live and active are those probiotics? And so when we're looking at how to get more probiotics in their food, getting it from real foods. So the two main sources that I often encourage people are yogurt and kombucha because they both can just so easily fit into our diet. Of course, fermented foods like true sauerkraut and things like
Mhm.
that, but and there's a lot of other sources of fermented foods, but I think that this is such an easy one for us to grab and integrate into our diet. So what are some of the other things that are just the top health benefits that people can experience if they start to add it in?
Well, I always come back to there are a few health claims when it comes to
There's
kombucha.
not a lot of research
There's not a lot of research, but
published, I guess we
it's
should say
true.
peer reviewed
Yeah,
research.
there's a little bit out there. Um, I really look at the strain, and what that means is um, you would not find the same strain in yogurt as you would in kimchi. So there are a wide variety of yeast and bacteria strains that are essentially living all and around all of us. And so we did fairly extensive research on what's studied and what's factual, but still raw and living. And one of those is lactobacillus. It's been documented and proven by the FDA to survive the highly acidic environment of the gut. And it passes through to the gut. Another one is a yeast, and it's Saccharomyces boulardii. And that one also has a host of benefits. I won't go through all of them, but the FDA has recognized Saccharomyces boulardii as a very effective probiotic. But I always think about one of my best friends growing up, and I swear to God, this guy growing up, since we were little, had to be close to a bathroom at all times. I mean, he's probably like, yeah, he doesn't care. Now that I think about it, he probably doesn't care that I'm telling this story. But he just always had an upset stomach at all times, and he lives in Florida. And when I first got into Publix, he's like, "Well, I should support you as a friend," and he did. And he called me like a week and a half later. He's like, "Man, it's the weirdest thing. I'm completely different." He's like, I'm the most normal I've ever been when it comes to movement. And that was validating for
Mhm.
me. I mean, and I've seen that story replicate itself thousands and thousands of times.
I think that a lot of people do reach for it on a regular basis because of that. So between the probiotics, the digestive enzymes, the natural amino acids that's in there, it absolutely helps a lot of people with digestive issues of all types. Um, One of the things that I'll have people tell me a lot is that they feel like it helps give them energy. And there's really not a lot of there's trace amounts of caffeine
Mhm.
in it, but people do find it energizing. And I think if someone is using it in the afternoon instead of reaching for that sugared soft drink or diet soft drink or sugary coffee drink, it can kind of have that stabilizing, leveling energy as opposed to that spike that's going to be followed by a crash as well. But the digestive improvements that a lot of people experience is tremendous as well.
Yeah, and we use a blend of green and black tea. L-theanine is well documented as energy support and mood support, and so you'll get some L-theanine, a tiny bit of caffeine from the black and green tea. Most of that is assimilated by the culture.
You said, I think I read that it's about the equivalent of a quarter cup of green tea
Mhm.
in a 16-ounce bottle.
That's right.
And a full cup of green tea has not that much caffeine anyway, most about 30 milligrams of caffeine compared to about 100
Mhm.
for a cup of coffee. So we're talking about 7.5, 7, 8 grams of
And a cleaner
milligrams of,
caffeine. Yep.
yeah, 7, 8 milligrams of caffeine, which is like less than a tenth of a cup of coffee. So for someone who does want, is looking to minimize caffeine in their diet, but looking for something that does feel energizing, it can be a good alternative.
Absolutely. This is my 2 o'clock drink, and we have about 40 employees. At least 30 of them are millennials, and they drink their coffee, their cold brew coffee in the morning, and then kombucha at 2 o'clock. And that's kind of their hump drink. And it
Right.
works really well.
Perfect. And so, caffeine content, you had that tested. Less than a tenth of a cup of coffee, basically in a 16-ounce bottle. Alcohol, you've had this tested because that's a question a lot of people
Mhm.
ask is there alcohol in it? And there are some types of kombucha that do have more alcohol than others, but yours is very low, less than.
So this is another. What's interesting when we talked earlier about what's authentic kombucha, some will say you can't introduce carbonation by what they would call, force methods, which is what the beer industry uses. Most sparkling like proseccos will use this. Um, we do, and that is to control alcohol. So we're one of the very few kombuchas that are within compliance. And compliance, according to the TTB, would say a beverage needs to contain 0.5% or below alcohol in order to be a non-alcoholic drink. So 0.5, that's very little. Most kombuchas, and we test them all the time, they'll make kombucha, bottle it up, and they'll let it sit out for 3 to 5 days, and it gathers natural carbonation. But what it also does is raise the alcohol because the bacteria go dormant, yeast go crazy and eat all the sugar and yes, spit out carbon dioxide, much like like traditional
Mhm.
champagne is made, but also increase the alcohol. So we've tested bottles that are 2 to 3%.
And that's bottles on shelves.
That's bottle on shelves today.
Wow.
Yep. So we spent. I wanted to create a product that I knew my daughter could consume safely.
Right.
Uh,
And we get the question a lot too about pregnant women.
mhm.
Right.
So this
Okay.
would be completely safe
Mhm.
for someone in any phase of pregnancy, and primarily because the alcohol is. I tested it. Yeah, I tested a batch yesterday. It was 0.38, and compared to 2-3%,
Mhm.
and that's why doctors say, well, there's some kind of shroud of mystery here. We don't know if we should allow it or not or disallow it. But my wife drank kombucha
Mhm.
her whole pregnancy, and my daughter is
Mhm.
healthy and
Healthy
great
and
and happy
beautiful.
and big pain in my butt.
And then you guys also, and what's also, I think, really convenient is we have a great lab here locally in New Orleans that can do all of this for you. And they've tested probiotics, and it's a large amount. And you say you don't get hung up on the number, but it's a lot of probiotics as the parts per million. You said it's.
Yeah, a couple billion. It really depends. Depends on the batch, on humidity and temperature, and all kinds of various things.
But that's
People.
impressive, especially when we look at that and then the particular strains that are found in it. It is truly, in fact, a great source of probiotics in addition or comparable to yogurt. So
Yep.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, and really the key there is people get so hung up on the number. What's the number? It doesn't matter. You could have 10 billion probiotics, but if it's the wrong strain, it's not gonna be effective. It's not gonna pass through into your gut, which is where you want it to live ultimately. But if it's the right strain, you could have a million, and it's going to get in your gut and proliferate and kind of start to multiply in your gut, and that's really what you're after.
And if someone is looking at numbers, the number that I do look at on kombucha labels is the sugar, because that is, I think, just the biggest variable. And, they're either adding a lot of sugar or they're not letting it ferment that long. So if you've got a high sugar content in there, start looking at other brands. So switching gears, we've talked about building the brand. We've talked about kind of what that process is like and the benefits of kombucha in particular. What managing this brand and having the growth that you've had, and now it's starting to have this national reach and national exposure. What are the different pressures that you have, and how do you balance them? Because your energy is a very laid back, chilled. Anytime I see you, it's as if you have all the time in the world. You're never in a hurry. You're just pretty chill. But I know that's not the case because clearly you don't have the reach that you have with this product if you're just that chill. So, how do you what pressures do you feel, and how do you kind of manage these and keep these in check?
Yeah, I think as people look to the guy, right, and they are looking for composure, and so I wouldn't wish 15 minutes in my brain to any of my worst enemies. It's like a continuous explosion. Like every 10 minutes, just a huge explosion. Because I want to push this thing as far and as fast as possible. Um, Really, the pressure is to succeed, and it's not really a monetary success for us that we're after. Yes, that would be a nice afterthought and benefit. But we've got a couple missions in mind. One is really a mission on a bottle. Yeah, I haven't really spoken about sort of our social side, but we partner with some programs in New Orleans, some workforce programs, and it really help folks that kind of have a tough time getting a job, whether that's from previous incarceration, wrongful incarceration, just being in a rut. Everyone knows it's way easier to get a job if you have a job. What if you don't have a job? And what if you haven't been given the tools that everybody else has? I'm a white male, which means I'm the most privileged demographic there is in this country. I recognize that disparity, and I want to do my job to help change that. And so we really try hard to give folks a chance to grow and start somewhere and get a solid career. And so I would say the biggest pressure for me is the succeeding for our people. I want to be a champion for our people, and I want to be a champion for our city. I want to see New Orleans make it to the next level. And I think we are certainly known. I mean, I don't care who you are. Every single person, when they say, I'm going to visit New Orleans, somebody says, get a hand grenade, get a hurricane. It's like, why can't we tell them to go get a kombucha,
Right.
instead? We're so centered around drinking. And that's okay too. But I'd really like to see this city kind of turn the page and be able to tap into the amazing bountiful produce that exists in our city, in our state, and the culinary talent that exists that have an amazing ideas that they're serving to individual guests on a daily. Let's help them push that to the masses. And so it has always been our vision to compete eventually at some point with Boulder and Austin and California and all these places where emerging trends in food and beverage kind of begin. We want to do that with New Orleans, and it's great to have tech companies here. That's really nice, but really the foundation for us is food and beverage
Mhm.
and being innovators. And so, if you're an entrepreneur in this space, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help and talk through challenges. But we really want to see this city change and kind of evolve a little bit.
What are some of the missteps that you guys have had? Things that you thought, man, this is like the best ever. Like we're brilliant for thinking of this, and then it just imploded. Or have there been those and along the way
There's probably like 15 today.
today? Right.
uh, it's a challenge. Being an entrepreneur and building something is a challenge, and that, that's the case if you own one retail location and you're a print shop, or if you're Elon Musk trying to put people on Mars. It's a challenge, and it's really difficult. And a lot of the challenges that entrepreneurs face on a small scale can be sort of the same at a big scale. Um, what we've really learned is it's all about people when it comes to our staff, and we've seen what's happened when we've put the right person in the right place and where the business ends up. And there's just sort of roadblocks get kind of removed. You're working with people so close; they're getting to know you, you're getting to know them, and being an entrepreneur at a small company, and we have 40 employees, but they all know me very well. They can walk into the filing cabinet and almost see my entire life and financials and all kinds of things. It's a very intimate sort of relationship. Um, I bring my daughter to work and people meet her, and so I really
You have
think,
a lot of trust with the
sure,
people that you surround yourself with.
100%. And so we've sort of evolved. The people that started with us are no longer with us, and we're kind of trending into like middle. And there's a different sort of skill set and personality and type of employee that can go from mid to large. And there have been very few that were kind of at small, and they're going to stay with us until we're large. So I think the evolution of the company is something that we just have learned over time, that things are never stagnant. Every day is a new day and a new challenge. We certainly have made a host of mistakes. There's hundreds of thousands of missteps along the way.
Has there ever been something that you put out there that you thought was good and the public hated it? Like a
Oh,
flavor, for
oh yeah,
example.
yeah, no, totally. We had we had a coffee kombucha.
Okay, that one was in my head.
Yeah,
I was
thank
like,
you. You
yeah, I was like, I don't think that one's still on shelves, but oh.
yeah. Well, it's not on shelves because it's really expensive to make. So that was probably
Did people not love it?
a lot of people loved
Okay,
it. A
clearly.
lot of
I
people
didn't,
hated
yeah.
it.
I
Like
didn't
it was
like
like
it.
so polarizing.
Yeah.
But
And I love coffee.
yeah,
And
it was
I
weird.
love really good coffee and I love kombucha, but the coffee flavored kombucha, I couldn't even like wrap my head around it. Like my
Yeah,
brain wasn't even prepared for what it was trying to taste. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, we still make it
Okay.
occasionally,
That's
and
the one I was like, I
yeah,
wonder how. Okay. So do you get like, just
yeah.
because what makes you decide to make it?
Well, so here's what this is another interesting story. Cajun Kick, which is your favorite, is one of our best sellers in Louisiana. I mean, it kills it. And so when Publix came online, they thought, all right, give us your top five. It's like looking into a crystal ball. We have no idea. We have no data. We're going into 6 new states. We don't know how this is going to do. So we gave him Cajun Kick. It just made sense. It plummeted. It did horrible in Publix because the southern, like Florida buyer was like, I don't want spicy drinks. But in New Orleans and Louisiana, like we love spicy
Spicy
stuff.
anything,
Spicy
right?
anything. Tabasco is like king. Crystal is king. Cayenne on everything. So we've learned a lot along the way, I would
What are some
say.
of the top selling flavors and those kind of like more like a Florida or like kind of the sunny southeast states?
Yeah. So our best seller in Florida is Bayou Berry, which is strawberry and honeysuckle. That was my least favorite idea. So total foot in the mouth. I eat my words. My
Why didn't you
wife,
like it?
yeah, I liked it.
I mean, why? What was your least favorite though?
Well, in concept, I thought it was going to be too sweet. But Alexa's like, no, we got to do a strawberry flavor. I think that's going to kill it. And I disagreed, and we always challenge each other. And I think that's part of the fun and sort of meet in the middle. But it is by far the best seller in Publix. It's one of the top indexing SKUs in the entire shelf. And there's 50 or 60 kombucha items on that shelf.
I haven't looked at the ingredients specifically on that one. How is the honeysuckle honey or how
No,
do you
so,
get the honeysuckle flavor?
yeah, so we use real honeysuckle.
How do you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure everyone listening has eaten honeysuckle, and if you haven't, it's very cumbersome to get the tiniest little drop of honeysuckle on your tongue. So how do you get that into these giant productions?
Yeah, so there's
You've got like one guy,
yeah, one guy
his
just
job,
like just
is like
really
tedious.
tedious. Yeah, that's pretty funny. So yeah, they make a honeysuckle tea,
Okay.
and it's grown in the south. It's harvested. It's dried, and so we'll steep that
Okay.
for a couple of days just to just to extract it. It gives like a little delicate, light
That's got to
floral
be
flavor.
really fun. Also, sourcing what those different things are that you're going to put in there. Yeah. Because you see honey, she probably saw honeysuckle tea and was like, let's put that with strawberry, let's make a flavor. Yeah,
Yep.
or berries. That's really cool. And then while we're at it, there's some of the other top flavors. I just think that's interesting to hear.
So we in Publix.
Or just in general, some of the top sellers and people's responses to them.
Yeah, it's so funny. So before Alex, we ended up hiring our advisor, who's been in CPG for a very long time, consumer packaged goods, has been just a part of brands on a rocket ship. And so when he came on board, we don't know what we're doing. We're green as grass. And he comes on board and really starts, sort of professionalizing our organization. he's like, how do you come up with flavors? And we're like, I don't know. We just kind of think about it, and start making it. He's like, well, okay, that works too. But he's so calm. And he said, well, what most companies do is they look at the data. They look at what's selling. And I'm like, what's data?
Right.
Then there's all this data out there for reference so we can kind of make more accurate decisions on what we think people are going to like. And so now we base a lot on what a retailer wants or prefers or asks for, because
Because they know
they
their
know
customer,
they know
right?
their customer, and every customers in every region is different. There's a lot of regionality when it comes to flavors and trends and things like peach, for example. Peach's index is really high in the Southeast. It doesn't do so well in New York. So one of our top sellers is Go Green, which is cucumber.
In New York.
In New
Yeah.
York, people want salad in a bottle. They're like, I want my
Right.
salad on the go while
Right.
I'm like running
Right.
to
How
the
much can
subway.
I multitask and squeeze
So
into one bottle? Right.
totally. Um, and then Bayouberry, a strawberry honeysuckle index, is very low in New York. So it really depends. In Walmart, our watermelon is the top seller and ginger is the least. But in Whole Foods, ginger is the top.
Yeah. Very interesting.
So
Yeah.
it kind of all depends. And you're really just trying to rein all this in. And
And not have 100 different things that are all going to different places. How can you keep it streamlined yet still satisfy all these?
it's a challenge. And I think the craft beer world has gone through this where they really feel this need to like innovate. And there are some companies, I don't know how they do it. It's a miracle, but they come up with something every week, one new
Mhm.
flavor. I'm like, how the heck did you do that?
Right. Yeah. And stay pure to your values on
Yeah.
that. Right.
Yeah. And make enough. I mean, you can't make, 10,000 cases and only sell 8,000, your profit margin plummets. So it's really a challenge. We're reevaluating our SKUs almost on a monthly basis and figuring out what's selling, what's not. Let's get rid of what's not. So
So when we
it's
talk
tough.
about what's filling your headspace is the pressures to continue to grow and thrive with the people who rely on you as the people immediately as part of your team, but then also kind of representing New Orleans and the health space in New Orleans. But then also, it sounds like what's kind of always in your head is trying to stay ahead of what's the next thing that people are wanting while also assessing what you've got and making sure that you're managing that as well.
100%. Yeah, 100%. They're in a in a space that's getting a lot more competitive, and consumer mindsets and their desires are changing seemingly by the minute. Millennials change their mind about what they want. There's very little to no brand loyalty today, much less than there was 15 years ago.
Do you think that I mean, I'm not a millennial, but I also have an extreme brand loyalty.
I mean, I think there's certainly outliers,
Yeah.
but I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I think millennials are just experimental by nature. They're not as attached to cars. Very few of them that I come across or have would just prefer to have an Uber and have a different ride every single day, and they like to try different coffees and different teas, and they're just it's
Not
all
very
about the
routine in it,
experience. Yeah,
right?
it's all about an experiential sort of day for them. Love to travel, like to see and taste and smell new things. So I think that's what's putting a lot of pressure on brands to just continually innovate. And fortunately for us, we're still small and nimble, and we're very set of small gears as compared to like a Nabisco, or a Pepsi.
Right. You can turn
Um,
the ship a lot faster.
yeah, the Pepsi will take 2 years just to decide if they want to put something in R&D, whereas we can launch something in 4 weeks.
Right.
So it's an advantage.
And then, so that's kind of the pressures. And then when it comes to what keeps you up at night, or do you ever stay up at night? Do you find that you sometimes feel like the noise is going, or the chatter is going, or the ideas are flowing? Are there things that are either fears or what ifs or stuff that you kind of question? Like, what are some of those things?
Yeah, I'll start off with a positive. What's been just incredible. I have a 2-year-old, and every day is different. She looks different every single day. And so what it's caused me to do is really be in the moment. like present, super present in the moment, watching her, laughing with her, engaging with her, even if she's watching some silly YouTube video, just really paying attention to her and trying to absorb this time because it passes so quickly. And your parents tell you all the time, you grew up so fast, and it sounds cliche, but and you don't really get it until you're in it. And when I look at her and she's saying different things, it just sort of makes everything pause, for that time.
It's a bit of a like a check on, okay, this seems like this is a really big deal, or it
Mhm.
seems urgent or critical right now, but does it really matter?
Right.
Is it really that?
It's true.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I'm always fearful of what I'm missing. Um, so I have been labeled a micromanager at times, but I'm really not a micromanager if the right person. In fact, most of my employees today would say he's extremely hands off. I really feel most comfortable as a visionary and just thinking about what's next. And I think really big. I think sometimes that scares me and it scares other people. But I like to think about big possibilities. And I think the success we've had with this brand and my wife, who's incredibly supportive and will listen to my whimsical ideas, not always agree with them, but you want that balance, has allowed me to see the world in a very unique place.
She's a very special person.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, she is. She's incredibly talented, so bright. And we're perfect for each other and it works really well. And we work together and go home and see each other, and we'll still want to travel together, and we hang out a lot. Um,
Is it
but
hard to separate work all the time?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's pretty common
Yeah.
for uh,
Especially, I think couples in general, it's hard to not talk about work at the end of the day at times,
totally.
especially when you're in it together. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And when all the pressure ultimately rides on your shoulders as a couple, you got to figure stuff out.
What is your way that you kind of layer in whatever it is that you do to kind of bring back that center? You mentioned your daughter, but other things that you do that kind of keep that balance or bring in that peace.
Yeah, this is something that I am not good at. I love work. And so my hobby a lot of times is work. And if I'm kind of weird, I as a kid really liked to flip things. And so one of my favorite hobbies sometimes is just to go buy stuff just to flip it. It's like it's so simple and there's like immediate gratification. It's like I can buy something in a thrift store, um, recognize that it's valuable over and above what they're asking for, pay that, take it home, put it on eBay, flip it, sell it, and then I get a
Seriously,
reward.
that's
Yeah,
one of your
I
hobbies.
love it. I just love
The
the
find.
deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the find, the discovery, the challenge, and then the reward. It's
And the
like it's almost
validation that you were right
totally
to identify this. Yeah.
100%. You're like, wow, I found that thing that somebody's willing to pay for.
Right.
So that it's I should probably find other hobbies other than those things. But really that's kind of what excites me.
I feel very similar. I love what I do, and the things that kind of go through my mind when I think it's the creating, it's coming up with ideas, it's hearing something, and then that goes, there's 10 other things that leads to in your head. And for me, the hardest part is narrowing down what am I going to focus on and what am I going to move forward on, because I've realized with myself personally and also with our team who works with me with our Eat Fit program, if I say yes to everything that I think is a good idea, it drives everybody crazy. There's no way. They're like, all right, we got
Yeah.
to put the brakes on some of this.
Yep.
But it's a beautiful thing when what we do for our careers is also so much a passion that it really doesn't feel like work. And I think the biggest challenge there is knowing that at times we do have to dial it back. And so your daughter is a perfect solution for this, because there's no alternative. Like, she's there and
Yep.
she's getting your full attention, and that's helping you probably for that period of time kind of separate from that, rest of it from that,
Yep. Yeah.
and let the thoughts kind of settle down.
Oh, totally. And
Do you wake up and dream with ideas and wake up with ideas?
it's horrible. I
Yeah.
mean, I've got just a list. I don't know about you, but I get the most inspiration when I'm either at an airport, in an Uber in a foreign place, could be an hour from now, or on a plane. That's when I get flooded. It's like when I'm in movement. and I just get
It's
flooded with
movement. Yeah.
it's movement. It's like, and I think some people are cubicle people and they do awesome work like behind a cubicle, like sitting still, don't bug me, don't call me. I'm going to work from 9 to 11. I'll schedule a call with me. I'm not like that. I need to be on the go. And I know you're the kind of the same way. It's like the more energy that's kind of pouring into you and that you're giving out, the more creativity and that's flowing in. And I think it's kind of cool.
And it's the challenge is to capture it, because I'll also try to write things very quickly and then I can't read my
And it's
writing.
gone.
And I'm like, yeah, I've got to capture it. Any other things that you would want to share for people? So if someone either is listening and they're haven't tried kombucha, or they want to, something, for our listeners about kombucha specifically, or someone who is has a brand and they're struggling to get into retailers, or they've started to get into retailers and looking for the next step. Anything that you would say um, are opportunities for people to learn from? And I guess also on the same line, the 1, 2, 3 things that you credit for the brand success.
So for one, if anyone's launching a brand and wants to vent, wants advice, or just wants to connect, they can email me at austin@bigeasybucha.com. I make a priority to make time for entrepreneurs. I think in our early stages, people thought we were really crazy and ignored us, and I remembered that. And so it can feel really lonely in the beginning, starting something from scratch, and you don't know where to begin, and you're thinking about launching something and these rules and regulations. I'm happy to talk through that with anyone that wants to connect.
It's incredibly generous of you. And I would imagine the people who were there and helped and gave that support and listened, they're like top on your, list of people who are just like your people
100%. You never forget those few first people that offered support
and believe in you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. When it comes to advice, when I think what I've seen, at least in my experience, is that people are doing things that aren't in growth categories. And I think everyone thinks that they make the best fill in the blank. I make the best muffin. So I'm going to package the muffin and sell it in a retailer. And I make the best. Well, where do you make it? I make it at home. It's a lot easier to make it at home for just consumption. You control everything. It's in small batches. It's eaten really soon, rather than to make it at scale where you need to ship it across the country. It's displayed out of your control. You're not there to tell the story. You're not there to tell you how you made it. Some stranger looks at your packaging and tells you it sucks. So I'm a big proponent of just looking at growth categories. And for me, a lot of stuff in health and wellness are growing. A lot in the vegan space is growing. So what's something that's not done that can be made vegan and done at scale? I am just a big proponent of looking at stuff that has legs and has the opportunity to go big, because you really need to get to a certain point until where it makes sense financially in order to get a brand from concept to full distribution. And as far as the brand's success so far, number one is my partnership with my wife. If I had a poor partner, and there are countless stories of this going south, when people partner up on a business and they don't have complementary skill sets or ideas about where it should go, or they don't see eye to eye on a vision at any point during the business, and it just folds quickly. So either do it yourself, one person. I typically recommend, if you're going to have partners, is to do it in threes. So there's folks that you can have a minority and majority vote, no matter how. Your partnership choice in the beginning is crucial to the success. And then you build around that. So we've been really fortunate. Probably number two is we have excellent people. We have excellent advisors. And we never stop listening. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs, they ask my advice for something that, well, at least for me, seems simple, and they do the exact opposite. And then it turns out to be a disaster. And it's like, well, you asked my advice, you didn't listen, and you expected a different outcome. Listen, and people don't listen. I'm shocked at how headstrong people typically are. We listen. No, you have to be a filter. You can't listen to everything. And everyone's got an opinion, but we really listen to people that we respect and that we think have had some success in whatever department that may be. And then we go to work, with their advice. And then the third is we just have grit. We've been faced with a lot along the way, my wife and I and our team. And it's always dusting yourself off, getting up, because there's going to be adversity. There's adversity. No business has a perfect hand. I don't care how many success stories there are. They've gone through it all. I promise you. Every IPO that you've seen, every company that's sold, every entrepreneur that's made a fortune, they've had it hard. No one's dealt a perfect hand. So I think grit and being able to take adversity and challenges and dust yourself off and get back to work is really the answer.
All good stuff. And I think it's how you live your life, and it's also how you run the business. So, well, fantastic. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today. And we'll have the links, your email and the links to Big Easy Bucha website on our podcast episode notes so people can have for easy reference. But again, super generous of you to spend your time and offer to be there as a resource for people. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We're so grateful to Austin for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation as much as I did and learned as much as I did. You can find the links that he mentioned in the show notes of this episode. I'm Molly Kimball, and you've been listening to Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, the podcast. If you'd like more Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, head over to mollykimball.com, and you can follow me, Molly Kimball RD, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join us next week for another dose of Fueled Wellness and Nutrition. Thanks for listening, and stay focused on living your strongest, healthiest life possible.